The restaurant hummed with the quiet elegance of wealth. Crystal glasses clinked softly, silverware met porcelain in gentle whispers, and low voices discussed business deals worth millions. Meridian Restaurant sat on the top floor of the Bennett Tower, the crown jewel of Harrison Bennett's vast empire. Every detail had been carefully chosen, from the Italian marble floors to the custom-designed chandeliers that cast soft light across white tablecloths. Brianna Johnson balanced 3 plates on her left arm and carried 2 more in her right hand as she navigated between tables. Her bright red uniform dress fit perfectly, professional and crisp, though she had bought it second-hand and altered it herself. She smiled at each guest, refilled water glasses, and kept her movements smooth despite the ache in her feet. This was her second shift today, and she still had 4 more hours before she could go home to Nia. The main dining room suddenly fell silent. Brianna glanced up from the table she was serving to see what had caused the change. Every head had turned toward the private elevator that opened directly into the restaurant. Harrison Bennett himself stepped out, his tall frame commanding immediate attention. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than Brianna made in 6 months, his silver hair perfectly styled, his jaw set in that expression everyone recognized from business magazines. But something was wrong. Brianna noticed it immediately, the way his hand gripped the elevator frame a moment too long, the slight pallor beneath his tan skin, the beads of sweat on his forehead despite the cool air conditioning. He took 3 steps into the restaurant and stopped, one hand moving to his chest. The maitre d', a thin man named Gerald, rushed forward. "Mr. Bennett, sir, is everything all right? Would you like your usual table?" Harrison waved him away with his free hand, but the gesture was weak. He took another step and swayed slightly. His breathing had become visible, his chest rising and falling too quickly. Around the room, staff members froze. The other servers stopped mid-pour. The kitchen staff visible through the service window stood motionless. Everyone watched, but no one moved. Harrison Bennett was not a man you approached without permission. He was not a man you questioned. He was certainly not a man you told what to do. Brianna set down her plates carefully on the nearest table and walked toward him. "Miss Johnson," Gerald hissed at her, his eyes wide with warning. "Return to your section." She ignored him. Harrison took another unsteady step, his face now clearly showing distress. His hand clutched his chest tighter, and his other hand reached out as if searching for something to hold onto. "Sir," Brianna said clearly, her voice cutting through the silence. She moved directly into his path, close enough that he had to focus on her face. "Sir, you need to sit down." Harrison's eyes met hers, unfocused and confused. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice was weak. "No, you are not." Brianna took his arm firmly, feeling how he trembled beneath the expensive fabric. "Sir, sit down. Right now." For a moment that stretched too long, he stared at her. No one spoke to him like this. No one gave him orders. The entire restaurant held its breath, waiting to see how the billionaire would react to this server in a red dress who dared to command him. Then his knees buckled. Brianna caught him, or rather, she guided his fall into the nearest chair. He dropped heavily into the seat, his breathing ragged, his face now pale gray. She knelt beside him, keeping one hand on his shoulder. "Someone call 911, she said loudly, not taking her eyes off Harrison. When no one moved, she raised her voice. "Now." Gerald finally pulled out his phone with shaking hands. "Sir, can you hear me?" Brianna asked, leaning closer. "Mr. Bennett?" Harrison nodded weakly, his eyes closing. "No, keep your eyes open," she instructed gently but firmly. "Look at me. That is good. Keep looking at me. Help is coming." She loosened his tie with quick, efficient movements and unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. Someone brought water, and she held the glass to his lips, letting him take small sips. His color was slowly returning, the immediate crisis passing, but his breathing was still too fast. "What hurts?" she asked quietly, aware that half the restaurant was filming this moment on their phones. "Chest," Harrison managed. "Pressure." "Okay. Try to breathe slowly. In through your nose, out through your mouth." She demonstrated, and he tried to follow. "Good. You are doing fine." The paramedics arrived within minutes, rushing in with equipment and questions. Brianna stepped back, giving them space, but Harrison's hand shot out and caught her wrist. "Stay," he said, his voice still weak but his grip surprisingly strong. So she stayed, standing beside him as the paramedics checked his vitals, asked their questions and prepared him for transport. She held his hand, this powerful man who had built an empire, who made decisions that affected thousands of lives, who now looked vulnerable and frightened in a way that money could never fix. "You probably saved his life," one of the paramedics told her quietly, getting him seated before he fell. If he had hit his head. Brianna just nodded, her throat tight. As they wheeled Harrison toward the elevator, he looked back at her. Your name? Brianna Johnson, sir. Thank you, Brianna Johnson. His eyes held hers for a long moment, and something passed between them, something neither of them could name yet. Then he was gone and the restaurant erupted into noise. Gerald was suddenly beside her, his face torn between anger and relief. The other servers surrounded her, asking questions all at once. Patrons wanted to know what happened. The kitchen staff came out to see her, this woman who had done what none of them dared. Brianna's hands started to shake, the adrenaline finally catching up to her. She had just grabbed Harrison Bennett, spoken to him like he was anyone else, given him orders. She could lose her job. She could be sued. Rich people did not like being touched, being commanded, being treated as anything less than untouchable. But she had seen a human being in distress and she had helped. That was what you did. That was what she taught Nia every day. You help people when they need it, regardless of who they are or how much money they have. Get back to work, everyone, Gerald finally said, clapping his hands. The show is over. Brianna returned to her section on legs that felt unsteady. She picked up the plates she had abandoned and delivered them to the waiting table, apologizing for the delay. The patrons did not care. They wanted to talk about what just happened, about how brave she was, about how Harrison Bennett had looked at her. She just wanted to finish her shift and go home to Nia. But as she worked, refilling glasses and taking orders and clearing plates, Brianna could not shake the feeling that something had changed. The way Harrison had looked at her in those final moments, the way he had asked her to stay, the quiet thank you that held more weight than any tip. Her life was about to change, though she did not know it yet. And it would start with a simple act of kindness from a single mother who dared to tell a billionaire to sit down. What would you have done if you saw someone powerful in distress? Would you have had the courage to help, or would fear have kept you frozen? Leave a comment below with your thoughts, and if this story speaks to your heart, hit that subscribe button so you do not miss what happens next. Sometimes, one moment of bravery changes everything. Brianna's alarm went off at 5 in the morning, the harsh beeping pulling her from a dream she could not remember. She reached out and silenced it, then lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling of her small bedroom. The apartment was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic from the street below. She had 30 minutes before Nia woke up. Pushing back the thin blanket, Brianna sat up and reached for her phone on the nightstand. 3 missed calls from her mother, 2 text messages from her coworker Tamara asking if she was okay, and 1 notification that her phone bill was due in 3 days. She swiped them all away and opened her banking app instead. $423 in checking. Rent was $850, due in 10 days. She did the math in her head, calculating her expected tips from this week's shifts, the hours she could pick up, the small cushion she might have if nothing unexpected happened. Something unexpected always happened. Brianna stood and pulled on her robe, the soft blue one Nia had picked out for her birthday last year. She walked quietly down the narrow hallway, past Nia's room where she could see her daughter's small form curled under a purple comforter, and into their tiny kitchen. The apartment was not much. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people, and a living room that doubled as a playroom. But it was theirs. The walls were painted a soft yellow that Brianna had chosen because it reminded her of sunshine. Nia's artwork covered the refrigerator, held in place by mismatched magnets. A bookshelf stood against one wall, filled with second-hand books and a few treasured toys. It was home. Brianna started the coffee maker, the gurgling sound familiar and comforting. While it brewed, she pulled out ingredients for breakfast. Eggs, bread, a little cheese. Nothing fancy but nutritious. She had learned to make a little go a long way, to stretch every dollar, to find joy in simple meals shared with her daughter. Mama? Nia's sleepy voice came from the hallway. Morning, baby girl. You are up early. Nia padded into the kitchen, her hair sticking up in all directions, her nightgown printed with stars. At 7 years old, she was all long limbs and bright eyes, curious about everything and afraid of nothing. She looked like her father, which sometimes hurt, but mostly Brianna was grateful because Nia was beautiful. I heard you get up, Nia said, climbing onto one of their 2 kitchen chairs. Can I have the tablet before school? After breakfast. You know the rules. Nia made a face but did not argue. She watched as Brianna cooked, asking questions about the eggs, about why cheese melted, about what Brianna's day would be like. She talked about her upcoming field trip to the Science Museum, about how her friend Aaliyah had lost another tooth, about the book they were reading in class. Brianna listened, responding with the right sounds and questions, but part of her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about yesterday, about Harrison Bennett's gray face and trembling hands, about how he had looked at her with such gratitude. She was thinking about the job she loved and feared losing, about the rent that never got easier to pay, about the dream she had once had that seemed further away each year. "Mama, you are not listening," Nia said, pouting slightly. "Sorry, baby. What did you say?" "I said Mrs. Patterson wants us to bring $30 for the field trip. It covers the bus and the museum ticket and lunch." Nia's voice was casual, but her eyes were watchful. $30. It might as well have been 300. Brianna kept her face neutral, her smile in place. "When is it?" 2 weeks from Friday." "Okay. We will make sure you can go." "Mama, if we cannot afford it, I understand." Aaliyah said her mom cannot afford it either, so maybe we could just stay at school together. Brianna's heart broke a little. Nia was 7 years old and already trying to make things easier for her mother, already learning to lower her expectations, to accept disappointment before it came. "You are going on that trip," Brianna said firmly. "Do not worry about the money. That is my job. Your job is to be excited and have fun and learn everything you can about science." Nia's face lit up and the worry melted away. "Really? Really?" They finished breakfast together, Nia chattering happily about what she wanted to see at the museum, about how she wanted to be a scientist when she grew up, maybe someone who studied space or animals or how the human body worked. Brianna listened and encouraged every dream, every wild idea, because she wanted Nia to believe anything was possible. After breakfast, Brianna helped Nia get dressed in jeans and a bright green shirt, then braided her hair into 2 neat plaits. They gathered backpacks and lunch boxes, locked the apartment and walked 3 blocks to Nia's school. The morning air was cool and fresh, the sun just starting to warm the streets. Other parents walked with their children, some rushing, some taking their time. Brianna held Nia's hand and tried not to think about the $30, about the rent, about the strange call from her landlord yesterday that she had not returned yet. At the school gate, Nia hugged her tight. "I love you, Mama. I love you more, baby girl. Have a good day. Learn something amazing." "I always do." Brianna watched until Nia disappeared through the school doors, then turned and headed for the bus stop. She had 2 hours before her first shift at Meridian Restaurant started. 2 hours to go home, shower, change, and somehow figure out how to make her life add up. The bus ride was long, crowded with people heading to work. Brianna found a seat near the back and pulled out her phone. She opened her banking app again as if the numbers might have changed in the last hour. They had not. She thought about asking her mother for money, but her mother was barely making ends meet herself, working 2 part-time jobs since her father had passed away 3 years ago. She thought about picking up another job, but she was already working 6 days a week, sometimes double shifts. When would she see Nia? When would she sleep? A text message popped up from Tamara. "Girl, are you famous yet? Everyone is talking about you and Mr. Bennett. How is he? Did you hear anything?" Brianna had not heard anything. She had left work immediately after her shift, desperate to get home to Nia, to hug her daughter and remember what really mattered. She had not thought about checking the news or following up on Harrison Bennett's condition. She typed back, "I do not know. I hope he is okay." Another message appeared. "You are all over social media. People are calling you a hero. Someone posted a video of you helping him and it has like 1 million views." Brianna's stomach dropped. 1 million views. People watching her, judging her, talking about her. She did not want to be famous. She just wanted to work, raise her daughter, and maybe one day have enough money to stop worrying every single month. The bus reached her stop, and Brianna got off, walking the block and a half to her apartment building. It was an old brick structure, for stories, with laundry in the basement and mailboxes that were always being broken into. But the rent was cheaper than most places, and her neighbors were good people who looked out for each other. As she approached the building, she saw Mrs. Chen from apartment 2B struggling with grocery bags. Brianna hurried over and took 2 of the bags without asking. "Oh, thank you, dear," Mrs. Chen said, slightly out of breath. "These old bones are not what they used to be. You should have called me. I could have picked these up for you. You worked too hard already. I can manage." They walked together into the building and up the stairs to the 2nd floor. Brianna carried the bags into Mrs. Chen's apartment, setting them on the small kitchen counter. The apartment was nearly identical to Brianna's but filled with photos of grandchildren and the smell of ginger and garlic. "I saw you on the news," Mrs. Chen said, starting to unpack her groceries. "That man you helped, he is very rich." "I suppose so. You did a good thing. Your daughter must be proud." Brianna smiled. "She does not know yet. I will tell her when she is older. You are a good mother." A good person. Mrs. Chin patted her hand. Good things will come to you. You wait and see. Brianna wished she could believe that. She had been waiting for good things for a long time. But she just smiled, said goodbye, and climbed the stairs to her own apartment on the 3rd floor. Inside, the silence felt heavy. This was the time of day when she usually felt the loneliness most acutely. No Nia chattering, no sounds except the creaking pipes and distant traffic. Just her and the ever-present worry about money, about the future, about whether she was doing enough for her daughter. She showered quickly, letting the hot water ease the tension in her shoulders. Then she dressed in her red uniform, applied minimal makeup, and pulled her hair back into a neat bun. Professional, appropriate, unremarkable. Before leaving, Brianna stood in front of Nia's bedroom door. The room was small but cheerful, walls painted purple at Nia's insistence, posters of planets and animals decorating every available space. The bed was neatly made, stuffed animals arranged just so, books stacked on the nightstand. This was why she worked so hard. This was why she would figure out the $30, the rent, the mounting bills. Because Nia deserved a childhood filled with wonder, with opportunities, with the belief that she could be anything she wanted to be. I will figure it out, Brianna whispered to the empty room. I always do. She grabbed her purse and her keys and headed back out into the city, ready to face another day of serving people who would never know her struggles, who would never understand what it meant to choose between paying the electric bill or buying new shoes for a growing child. But she would smile. She would be kind. She would do her job well. Because that was who Brianna Johnson was, and no amount of hardship could change that. 3 days after the incident, Brianna was refilling salt shakers in her section when Gerald approached with an expression she could not read. Table 12 just requested you specifically, he said, his tone careful. Brianna glanced at the reservation list. Table 12 was in the premium section, the area reserved for Bennett's most important clients and partners. Servers usually had to work there for at least a year before being assigned those tables. Are you sure? She asked. Quite sure. The guest asked for you by name. Gerald paused. It is Mr. Bennett. Brianna's heart skipped. She had not expected to see him again, certainly not so soon. The last image she had of him was being wheeled toward the elevator, pale and weak, his hand reaching for hers. She had assumed he would recover at home, forget about the server who had helped him, and return to his billionaire life without a second thought. He is here now? She asked. He arrived 5 minutes ago. He is waiting for you. Brianna smoothed her red uniform dress, checked her reflection in the polished surface of a serving tray, and took a breath. Then she walked across the restaurant to table 12, aware that every other server was watching her. Harrison Bennett sat alone at the round table near the window, the city spread out behind him like a painting. He looked nothing like the man who had nearly collapsed 3 days ago. His color was healthy, his silver hair perfect, his navy suit impeccable. But when he saw her approaching, his entire face changed, softening in a way she had not expected. Miss Johnson, he said, standing as she reached the table. Thank you for agreeing to serve me. Of course, Mr. Bennett. I am glad to see you looking well. Thanks to you. He gestured to the chair across from him. Would you sit with me for a moment? I promise I will not keep you long from your other tables. Brianna hesitated. Servers did not sit with guests, especially not with the owner of the entire building. But something in his eyes, a genuine warmth that seemed rare and precious, made her nod. She sat, keeping her posture straight and professional. I wanted to thank you properly, Harrison began. What you did 3 days ago, your quick thinking and your courage quite possibly saved my life. The doctors confirmed I was having a cardiac event. If I had fallen, if I had hit my head, the outcome could have been very different. I am just glad you are all right, sir. Please call me Harrison. I cannot do that, Mr. Bennett. You are my employer. A small smile played at his lips. Fair enough. But I can call you Brianna? Yes, sir. He leaned back in his chair, studying her with an intensity that made her slightly uncomfortable. Not in a threatening way, but in the way of someone truly seeing her, not just looking past her as most wealthy patrons did. I did some research, he said. You have been working here for 2 years. You have never called in sick, never been late, and every customer review that mentions you specifically praises your kindness and professionalism. Gerald tells me you are one of his best servers. Brianna was not sure how to respond to that. I try to do my job well. You do more than that. Several of your co-workers mentioned that you helped Mrs. Chin, an elderly resident in your building, carry groceries. That you donated your tips to help a fellow server whose car was stolen. That you volunteer to take the less desirable shifts so others can spend time with their families. Who told you all this? I make it my business to know about people who impact me. You impacted me greatly, Brianna. I want to do something for you to show my gratitude. Brianna shook her head immediately. That is not necessary. Anyone would have done the same. But they did not. You did. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and placed it on the table between them. Please accept this. She did not touch it. Mr. Bennett, I cannot accept money for helping someone. That is not who I am. I understand. But consider this not payment for helping me, but a gift from someone who is grateful to be alive. Someone who recognizes that you likely have financial pressures I cannot imagine, and who wants to ease those pressures slightly. Brianna looked at the envelope, then at Harrison's face. His expression was sincere, without pity or condescension. He was not trying to buy her or impress her. He genuinely wanted to help. She thought about Nia's field trip, about the rent, about the call from her landlord she still had not returned because she knew it was not good news. I have always believed, she said slowly, that accepting help with grace is not weakness. My grandmother taught me that. She said refusing kindness only hurts both people, the giver and the receiver. Your grandmother was a wise woman. Brianna reached for the envelope, her hand steady. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. This is very kind and I accept with gratitude. Something in his eyes shifted, a warmth that seemed to surprise even him. Good. Now may I order lunch? I have heard the salmon here is excellent, though I confess I cannot remember the last time I actually ate in my own restaurant. Brianna stood, slipping the envelope into her apron pocket without looking inside. Whatever amount was there, she would handle it privately, away from watching eyes. The salmon is very good. We also have a special today, grilled chicken with roasted vegetables. I will have the salmon, please. And a side salad, light dressing. Anything to drink? Just water, thank you. The doctors have me on a rather strict diet for the time being. Brianna nodded and turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Brianna? She looked back. Would you be willing to have coffee with me sometime? Not here, somewhere more casual. I find myself wanting to know more about the woman brave enough to tell me to sit down. Every professional instinct told her to decline. He was her employer. He was a billionaire. He lived in a world so different from hers that they might as well be on different planets. But something in his eyes, a loneliness she recognized because she felt it herself, made her pause. I have a 7-year-old daughter, she said. I do not have much free time. I would be happy to meet whenever works for you. And your daughter would be welcome, of course. Brianna considered this. Nia was an excellent judge of character. Children usually were. If Harrison Bennett had any ulterior motives, any unkindness hidden beneath his polite exterior, Nia would sense it immediately. All right, she said. Coffee would be nice. His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes and transforming his entire face. Thank you. I will not take up much of your time, I promise. I just want to talk. Brianna left to place his order, her mind spinning. What was she doing? This man could buy and sell her entire apartment building without noticing the expense. They had nothing in common except a moment of crisis that brought them together. But as she worked through the rest of her shift, serving other tables and refilling drinks and clearing plates, she kept glancing at table 12. Harrison ate slowly, reading something on his tablet, occasionally looking out at the city view. He did not demand constant attention or snap his fingers for service. He was patient, quiet, almost solitary despite being surrounded by the restaurant's energy. When he finished, she brought the check, though she knew he would not actually pay. He owned the place. Thank you for excellent service, he said, writing something on the receipt before signing it. My assistant will contact you about coffee. Is the phone number on your employee file current? Yes, sir. Good. I look forward to talking with you again, Brianna. After he left, Brianna picked up the receipt. He had left a tip of $500. She stared at the number, her eyes stinging with sudden tears. $500. That was the field trip, part of the rent, groceries for 2 weeks, a cushion against the next emergency. She carefully folded the receipt and put it in her pocket with the envelope. Later, in the employee bathroom, she would open the envelope to find another $5,000 in crisp bills and a handwritten note. For the courage to help a stranger. Use this to make your life a little easier. You deserve every good thing. With deep gratitude, Harrison Bennett. Brianna sat in the bathroom stall and cried, not from sadness but from the overwhelming relief of breathing room, of possibility, of the unexpected kindness of a man who did not have to care but chose to anyway. Maybe Mrs. Chen was right. Maybe good things did come to good people. Maybe her life was about to change in ways she could not yet imagine. The envelope and the tip money sat on Brianna's small kitchen table, the bills stacked neatly beside her laptop. $5,500. More money than she usually saw in 3 months. Enough to solve several immediate problems and create a small safety net for the first time in years. But it did not solve everything. Brianna stared at the screen where her landlord's email glowed with bad news. The rent was increasing by $300 a month starting next month. The building was being renovated, he explained, updated to attract higher-paying tenants. Current residents could either pay the new rate or leave when their leases expired. Hers expired in 60 days. $300 more each month. That was $3,600 a year, money she did not have even with Harrison's gift. She could stretch his generosity to cover a few months, but then what? She would be right back where she started, struggling to make rent, juggling bills, stealing from one expense to pay another. "Mama, can you help me with my homework?" Nia stood in the doorway of the kitchen, her purple backpack still on her shoulders, her face hopeful. She had no idea about the email, about the stress that was tightening around Brianna's chest like a band. To Nia, the world was still safe, still manageable. Brianna closed the laptop quickly and smiled. "Of course, baby girl. Let me see what you have." They sat together at the table, Nia spreading out her math worksheets and reading assignment. Brianna pushed the money aside, focusing entirely on her daughter, helping her work through fraction problems and discussing the book they were reading about a girl who wanted to be an astronaut. "Mrs. Patterson said only 15 kids can go on the field trip," Nia said while erasing a wrong answer. "Some parents cannot afford it. Do you think that is fair? What do you think?" Brianna asked, using her usual technique of turning questions back to Nia. "I think everyone should get to go. Learning should not cost money." "You're right. But sometimes the world does not work the way it should. That is why people like you, smart and kind people, need to grow up and change things." Nia nodded seriously, already planning how she would fix the world's problems when she got older. Brianna loved this about her daughter, this absolute certainty that she could make a difference, that obstacles were just problems waiting for solutions. After homework they made dinner together. Spaghetti with sauce from a jar and a side salad. Simple food, but they ate at the table together, talking about Nia's day, about her friend Aaliyah's lost tooth, about the art project they were starting in class. Brianna did not mention the rent increase or the landlord's email. She did not talk about how her car had made a strange grinding noise that morning or how she needed new work shoes but kept putting it off. She kept her worries to herself because Nia deserved to be a child, to believe the world was safe and her mother could handle anything. After dinner they did the dishes together, Nia standing on a step stool to reach the sink. Then they read together on the couch, Nia curled against her side, the book about the astronaut girl spread across both their laps. "Do you think I could really be a scientist?" Nia asked during a pause in the reading. "I think you can be anything you want to be. But we do not have a lot of money. College costs money." Brianna's heart ached. 7 years old and already thinking about college costs, already understanding their limitations. "You are smart, baby girl. There are scholarships and grants and ways to make it work. By the time you are ready for college we will figure it out. I promise." "Like you figured out the field trip?" "Exactly like that." Nia smiled and settled deeper into the couch, satisfied with this answer. Brianna continued reading, her voice steady even as her mind raced with calculations and worries and the overwhelming weight of single parenthood. That night, after Nia was asleep, Brianna sat at the kitchen table again with her laptop and a notepad. She made lists, crunched numbers, explored options. She could move to a cheaper apartment, but cheaper usually meant less safe, and she would not compromise Nia's safety. She could take on a third job, but when would she sleep? When would she see her daughter? She could use Harrison's gift to cover the increased rent for several months while she figured out something more permanent. She could save half and use half. She could invest it somehow, though she had no idea how investments worked. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tamara. "Working tomorrow? We need to catch up. You have been so quiet since the Harrison Bennett thing. Are you okay?" Brianna typed back, "I am fine. Yes, working tomorrow. We can talk during break." But she was not fine. She was drowning, had been drowning for years, and every time she thought she might reach the surface, another wave pushed her back down. Harrison's kindness had given her air, a moment to breathe, but it had not changed the fundamental reality of her life. She was a single mother with limited education, working a job that paid barely enough to survive, raising a daughter who deserved so much more than they could afford. She worked hard, lived frugally, made good choices, and still barely scraped by each month. The unfairness of it hit her suddenly, a wave of frustration so intense she had to close her laptop and walk away. She stood in her small living room, looking at the yellow walls she had painted herself, at Nia's artwork and the second-hand furniture and the life she had built through sheer determination. It was a good life. She knew that. They had a roof over their heads, food to eat each other. Many people had far less. But the constant stress, the endless worry, the feeling of running in place while going nowhere, it was exhausting. Brianna walked to Nia's room and stood in the doorway watching her daughter sleep. Nia was curled on her side, her stuffed bear tucked under one arm, her face peaceful. She did not worry about rent or car repairs or field trip costs. She believed her mother would take care of everything. And Brianna would. She always did. She would figure out the rent increase, find a way to make the numbers work, sacrifice whatever needed to be sacrificed. Because that was what mothers did, especially single mothers who had no one else to share the burden. She thought about Harrison's offer to have coffee, about how genuinely he had seemed to care about her life. Part of her wanted to cancel, to keep her distance from a man who lived in such a different world. But another part, the lonely part she rarely acknowledged, wanted to see him again. Wanted to talk to someone who looked at her like she mattered, like she was more than just a server or a struggling single mother. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe she should focus entirely on Nia and work and survival. But she was still human, still a woman who remembered what it felt like to be seen, to be valued beyond her usefulness. Brianna returned to the kitchen and opened her banking app. She transferred $2,000 of Harrison's gift into her savings account, money she would not touch except for true emergencies. The rest she would use carefully, stretching it as far as possible, covering the rent increase and the field trip and the new shoes Nia needed. It was not a long-term solution. But it was breathing room, and right now that was enough. Her phone buzzed again, this time an unknown number. A text message appeared. "Good evening, Brianna. This is Catherine, Mr. Bennett's assistant. He asked me to arrange a time for coffee with you. Would this Saturday at 10 a.m. work? There is a cafe called Morningside near your apartment. Please let me know if this is convenient. Catherine." Brianna stared at the message. Saturday at 10 meant she would need to bring Nia, since she could not afford a babysitter and would not ask her mother to watch her daughter for a coffee date. But Harrison had said Nia was welcome. She typed back, "Saturday at 10 a.m. works. I will bring my daughter if that is still okay. Thank you, Brianna." The response came within seconds. "Of course. Mr. Bennett looks forward to meeting you both. Catherine." Brianna set down her phone and took a deep breath. Saturday. 3 days from now. She would have coffee with a billionaire while trying to explain her life, her struggles, her world that was so far removed from his. But maybe, just maybe, something good would come from it. Maybe Harrison Bennett was exactly what he seemed, a kind man who wanted to show gratitude, who saw her as a person worth knowing. Maybe, for once, the universe was offering her something beyond struggle and survival. Maybe she deserved that. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and a gentle warmth that promised a beautiful day. Brianna woke early as always and spent extra time choosing her outfit. Not the uniform she wore for work, but a simple blue sundress she saved for special occasions. She wanted to look nice but not like she was trying too hard. Nia was excited about meeting Mr. Bennett, though Brianna had been careful not to build it up too much. "He is just a man who wants to say thank you for me helping him when he was sick," she had explained. "We will have coffee, talk for a little while, and then we will go to the park." "But he is rich, right?" Nia had asked. "Like in the movies? Having money does not make someone important, baby girl. Being kind makes someone important." Now they walked together toward Morningside Cafe, Nia wearing her favorite green dress and her hair in 2 puffs with ribbons. She held Brianna's hand and chattered about everything and nothing, her usual stream of consciousness about clouds and birds and what she wanted to learn in science class. The cafe was small and charming, with outdoor seating under a green awning and flowers in window boxes. Harrison was already there, sitting at a corner table, wearing khaki pants and a white button-down shirt, no tie. He looked more relaxed than Brianna had ever seen him, more like a regular person and less like the intimidating billionaire from magazine covers. He stood when he saw them, smiling warmly. "Brianna, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting us. This is my daughter, Nia." Harrison crouched down to Nia's level, meeting her eyes directly. "Hello, Nia. I'm very pleased to meet you. Your mother is an exceptional person." Nia studied him with the serious expression she used when evaluating new people. "Are you really rich?" "Nia," Brianna said, mortified. But Harrison laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. "I suppose I am. Does that matter to you?" "Not really. Mama says being kind matters more." Your mama is very wise. Here, I brought you something. He reached for a bag beside his chair and pulled out a wrapped package. I hope this is okay, he said to Brianna. Catherine helped me pick it out. Nia looked at her mother for permission and Brianna nodded. She unwrapped the package carefully, her eyes widening when she saw the science kit inside. It was the kind Brianna had seen in toy stores and quickly walked past, too expensive even to consider. This is the one I wanted, Nia breathed. With the volcano and the crystals and everything. I thought you might enjoy it, Harrison said. I heard you want to be a scientist. How did you know that? Your mother told me. She is very proud of you. Nia hugged the box to her chest, then, to Brianna's surprise, hugged Harrison quickly before returning to her mother's side. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. This is the best present. You are very welcome. They settled at the table and a server came to take their orders. Coffee for the adults, hot chocolate for Nia, and pastries for everyone. Nia immediately started examining the science kit, reading the instructions with intense focus. She is wonderful, Harrison said quietly, watching Nia. You must be very proud. Every single day. And her father? Brianna had known the question would come eventually. He left when she was 1. I have not seen him since. He sends nothing, helps with nothing. It has been just us for 6 years now. That must be difficult. We manage. Nia does not remember him, so she does not miss him. I tell her that some people are not ready to be parents and that is okay. She has me and I have her and that is enough. Harrison nodded slowly. My wife passed away 4 years ago. Cancer. We did not have children. She wanted to wait until the business was more stable, and then suddenly she was sick and then she was gone. I have regretted that wait every day since. Brianna reached across the table and touched his hand briefly. I am so sorry. Thank you. I tell you this because I understand loneliness. I understand building a life around work because it is easier than facing an empty house. Since she died, I have poured everything into my business, my foundation, my projects. But I forgot to be human. I forgot that connection matters more than success. And almost dying reminded you? You reminded me. The way you looked at me that day, not as Harrison Bennett the billionaire but as a human being who needed help. That changed something in me. They talked easily after that, the conversation flowing naturally despite their different worlds. Harrison asked about Nia's school, about Brianna's work, about her dreams and goals. She found herself opening up in ways she rarely did, talking about her desire to one day own a small business, maybe a bakery or a cafe where she could create community space for people like her, people who worked hard and deserved somewhere beautiful to relax. What stops you? Harrison asked. Money, time, fear. The usual things. Not talent or ability? I do not think so. I know I could do it if circumstances were different. Harrison was quiet for a moment, watching Nia, who was now showing another child at a nearby table her science kit. Brianna, I want to help you. You already have. Your gift was incredibly generous. I want to do more. I want to cover your rent increase so you do not have to move. I want to pay for your car repairs. I want to set up a fund for Nia's education so you never have to worry about her opportunities. I want to help you start your business when you are ready. Brianna felt her chest tighten. Mr. Bennett? Harrison, please. Harrison, I cannot accept all that. It is too much. Why? I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Using it to help someone who genuinely deserves it, who would use it to build a better life for herself and her daughter, that is the best use of wealth I can imagine. People will talk. They will say terrible things, make assumptions about why you are helping me. Let them talk. I do not care what strangers think. I care about doing the right thing. He leaned forward, his eyes intense but kind. You saved my life, Brianna. But more than that, you reminded me that kindness exists, that human connection matters. You gave me something I did not know I was missing. Please let me give you something in return, not as payment but as one human being helping another. Brianna looked at Nia, who was laughing at something the other child had said, her whole face bright with joy. She thought about the rent increase, about the grinding sound her car made, about the scholarship applications she would need to fill out someday for colleges she could not afford. She thought about her dream of owning her own business, of building something meaningful, of giving Nia a life where money was not a constant source of stress. She thought about her grandmother's words. Accepting help with grace is not weakness. I want to pay you back, she said finally. Maybe not now but someday. When I have my business, when I am stable, I want to help someone else the way you are helping me. Harrison smiled. That is exactly what I hoped you would say. Help is not a loan to be repaid. It is a gift to be passed forward. You help the next person who needs it, and that will be payment enough. Brianna felt tears sting her eyes. This feels like a dream. Like I will wake up and none of this will be real. It is real. And you deserve every bit of it. Harrison pulled out his phone and opened an app. Catherine has already arranged everything. Your landlord has been paid 6 months in advance at the new rate. Your car is being repaired today at the Bennett Tower garage. I have set up an education fund for Nia that will cover university and beyond. When you are ready to start your business, my legal team will help you with all the paperwork and planning. I do not know what to say. Say yes. Say thank you. And then let yourself believe that good things can happen to good people. Brianna nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She had spent so many years just surviving, just pushing through each day, that she had forgotten what it felt like to hope for more. But sitting here with Harrison, watching Nia play with her science kit, feeling the weight of constant worry lift slightly from her shoulders, she allowed herself to believe. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for seeing me, for caring, for this incredible kindness. Thank you for saving my life, and for letting me be part of yours. Nia came back to the table then, full of questions about the science kit, about when they could go home and start building the volcano. Brianna gathered her daughter close, kissing the top of her head, and met Harrison's eyes over Nia's hair. Something was changing between them, something beyond gratitude and generosity. A connection was forming, tentative and new, but real nonetheless. Brianna did not know where it would lead, but for the first time in years she was not afraid to find out. The weeks following that first coffee meeting fell into an unexpected pattern. Harrison would text Brianna, always polite and respectful of her schedule, asking if she had time for coffee or lunch. Sometimes she brought Nia, and those meetings were filled with Nia's excitement about her science experiments and her questions about everything from how businesses worked to whether Harrison had ever met an astronaut. Other times, when Nia was at school or with Brianna's mother, it was just the two of them. Those conversations went deeper, touching on loss and hope and the strange paths life took when you were not paying attention. Today was one of those quieter meetings. Brianna sat across from Harrison at a different cafe, this one near a park where autumn leaves were just starting to turn gold and red. She wore jeans and a simple red sweater, comfortable and relaxed in a way she had not felt around him initially. Tell me about your wife, she said, holding her coffee cup between both hands. They had reached a point where such questions felt natural rather than intrusive. Harrison looked out the window, his expression soft with memory. Her name was Caroline. We met in college, married young, built the business together. She was brilliant with people, could walk into a room and instantly make everyone feel valued and heard. I was better with numbers and strategy, so we balanced each other. You must miss her very much. Every day. But I have learned that grief changes over time. In the beginning, it was this crushing weight that made breathing difficult. Now it is more like a companion, always present but manageable. I can remember her with more joy than pain, though the pain is still there. I think that is healthy. My grandmother used to say that the people we love never really leave us. They live on in the lessons they taught us, the love they gave us. Your grandmother sounds like she was wonderful. She raised me after my mother had trouble with substances. She taught me everything that matters: kindness, resilience, hope. She died when I was 17 and I still miss her every day. But I try to live in a way that would make her proud. She would be immensely proud of you, Brianna. Of the mother you are, the person you are. Brianna felt warmth spread through her chest. Tell me more about your business. I know you own the tower and several other buildings, but Catherine mentioned something about a foundation. Harrison's face brightened. Yes, the Caroline Bennett Foundation. After she died, I wanted to create something meaningful in her memory. We focus on education initiatives, particularly for single parents trying to better their situations. Scholarships, childcare assistance, job training programs. Caroline believed everyone deserved a chance to build a better life. That is beautiful. You honor her memory by helping people. I try. Though I am realizing I had become disconnected from the actual people we help. I attend galas and sign checks, but I had not really understood what it meant to struggle the way you do, to work so hard and still barely make ends meet despite doing everything right. A lot of people work just as hard as I do and have even less. I know how fortunate I am, really. That perspective, that gratitude despite genuine hardship, is rare. It speaks to your character. They talked about other things. Books they had read, places they dreamed of traveling, small pleasures that made life worthwhile. Brianna found herself laughing more than she had in years, genuinely enjoying the conversation and the company. I have a confession, Harrison said as they prepared to leave. I find myself thinking about you quite often. About you and Nia, about your lives, about what you might be doing at any given moment. Brianna's heart skipped. Harrison. I know this is complicated. I am your employer, I am significantly older than you, and we come from very different worlds. But I cannot deny what I am feeling. You make me want to be better, to do better. You remind me what matters. I feel it too, Brianna admitted quietly. But I am scared. I have Nia to think about. If this, whatever this is between us, if it does not work out, that affects her too. I cannot bring someone into her life who might leave. I understand. And I would never push you toward anything you are not ready for. But I want you to know that my feelings are genuine. This is not gratitude or charity or curiosity. This is me, a man who has been alone for too long, recognizing something real and precious when I find it. Brianna reached across the table and took his hand. Can we take this slowly? Get to know each other more, let Nia get comfortable with you, see where things led naturally. I would not want it any other way. They left the cafe together, walking through the park where children played and couples strolled hand in hand. Harrison did not try to hold her hand or stand too close, respecting the boundaries she needed. But the connection between them was undeniable, growing stronger with each conversation, each shared moment. That evening, after putting Nia to bed, Brianna sat on her couch with a cup of tea and allowed herself to really think about what was happening. She was developing feelings for Harrison Bennett, this man who had entered her life through a moment of crisis and stayed because they genuinely enjoyed each other. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. She had not dated anyone seriously since Nia was born. She had convinced herself she did not have time, did not have the energy, did not deserve to want something for herself beyond survival and motherhood. But Harrison made her remember that she was more than just a mother. She was a woman who enjoyed intellectual conversation, who had dreams and desires, who deserved companionship and affection. Her phone buzzed with a text from him. Thank you for another wonderful afternoon. Sweet dreams, Brianna. She smiled, typing back, sweet dreams to you too, Harrison. Maybe, just maybe, she could have this. A relationship built on mutual respect and genuine connection. A partner who saw her as an equal despite their different circumstances. A father figure for Nia who would treat her with kindness and consistency. It was too soon to think that far ahead. But for the first time in years, Brianna allowed herself to hope for more than just survival. She allowed herself to dream of a future that included love, partnership, and the building of a life that felt abundant rather than just adequate. The autumn night was cool and quiet, and Brianna felt peace settle over her like a soft blanket. Whatever happened next, she would face it with the same courage she had shown that day in the restaurant when she told a powerful man to sit down. Sometimes bravery was about grand gestures. Sometimes it was about opening your heart when fear told you to keep it closed. Tonight, Brianna chose bravery. She chose to believe that good things could happen, that she deserved happiness, that love could find you even when you were not looking for it. And that choice, that simple act of allowing hope, would change everything. 3 months had passed since that first coffee meeting, and autumn had given way to winter. The city was decorated with lights in anticipation of the holidays, and Brianna felt like she was living in a different life from the one she had known just a few months ago. The financial pressure had eased significantly with Harrison's help. Her car ran smoothly, the rent was stable, and she had even managed to save a small amount each month. But more important than the financial security was the emotional transformation happening inside her. She was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way she had not been since before Nia's father left. Tonight, Harrison had invited her to dinner at a small Italian restaurant, just the two of them. Nia was staying with Brianna's mother for the evening, excited about baking cookies and watching movies. Brianna had dressed carefully in a maroon dress she had splurged on, wanting to look nice for this man who had become so important to her. Harrison was waiting at their table, standing when he saw her approach. "You look beautiful," he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her blush. "Thank you. You look very handsome yourself." He wore dark gray slacks and a blue shirt, no tie, that relaxed style she had come to appreciate. They sat together, and the server brought wine and menus, though Brianna was too aware of Harrison's proximity to focus much on food. "I have been thinking," Harrison began after they had ordered, "about us, about what we are building together. I want to be completely honest with you about my feelings." Brianna's heart raced. "Okay. I am falling in love with you, Brianna. I know it is fast, I know it is complicated, but I cannot deny what I feel. You have brought light back into my life. You and Nia, you have given me a reason to wake up excited about the day, to want to be better, to remember what truly matters." Tears pricked her eyes. "I feel the same way. But Harrison, I am scared. Love has not been kind to me in the past. I know. And I cannot promise that I will be perfect or that we will not face challenges. But I can promise that I will show up every day. I will be there for you and for Nia. I will respect you, support you, and do everything in my power to build a life that makes you both happy. What about the age difference? The wealth difference? What will people say? People will always talk. But their opinions do not matter. What matters is how we feel, how we treat each other, whether we build something real and lasting. I've spent too much of my life caring what others think. I will not let that stop me from pursuing genuine happiness. Brianna reached for his hand across the table. I love you too, Harrison. I've been afraid to say it, afraid to believe it, but it is true. You have shown me what a true partner looks like, what it means to be valued and respected. You have been wonderful to Nia, patient with my fears, generous with your time and attention. She is an extraordinary child. You have done an amazing job raising her. I want her to have a father figure, someone stable and kind. Someone who will be there not just when it is convenient but always. Can you be that person? I already am that person. I love that little girl almost as much as I love you. Watching her excitement over science experiments, hearing her theories about the universe, seeing the way she looks at the world with such optimism and curiosity, it brings me joy I did not know I could feel again. They ate dinner slowly, talking about their hopes for the future. Harrison shared his dream of scaling back his business involvement to focus more on the foundation and on building a life with Brianna and Nia. Brianna talked about her desire to start her bakery in a year or two, once Nia was a bit older and settled. I want to support that dream, Harrison said. Not by doing it for you but by being there beside you. Helping you plan, encouraging you when it gets hard, celebrating every victory. That means more to me than you know. I do not want someone to rescue me. I want a partner, an equal, someone who believes in my ability to build my own success. That is exactly what you will have. After dinner, they walked through the city streets, the holiday lights casting a warm glow on the sidewalks. Harrison took her hand and Brianna leaned into his side, feeling safe and cherished in a way that still surprised her. When Caroline died, Harrison said quietly, I thought I would never feel this way again. I thought my chance at love, at family, at building a life with someone had passed. But you proved me wrong. You showed me that second chances exist, that it is never too late to choose happiness. You did the same for me. After Nia's father left, I built walls around my heart. I told myself I did not need anyone, that I could handle everything alone. But handling things and truly living are different. You taught me that. They stopped under a streetlight and Harrison turned to face her fully. Brianna Johnson, I want a future with you. I want to wake up beside you, raise Nia together, build something beautiful and lasting. I know we have only known each other a few months, but I have never been more certain of anything. I want that too. All of it. He kissed her then, soft and gentle, a promise sealed in the winter night. Brianna felt something shift inside her, the final wall crumbling, allowing herself to fully believe in this love, this second chance at happiness. When they finally pulled apart, both were smiling. I should get home to Nia, Brianna said reluctantly. I know. Can I pick you both up tomorrow? I thought we could go ice skating, have lunch, maybe look at lights. That sounds perfect. Harrison walked her to her car, kissing her goodly once more before she drove away. The streets were quiet and Brianna felt like she was floating, her heart so full it might burst. She picked up Nia from her mother's house, listening to her daughter's excited chatter about the cookies they had made and the movie they had watched. As they drove home together, Nia grew quiet, studying her mother in the rearview mirror. Mama, are you happy? She asked. Yes, baby girl. I'm very happy. Is it because of Mr. Bennett? Brianna pulled into their parking spot and turned to face her daughter. Partly. But mostly I am happy because I have you and we have each other, and now we have someone who cares about us very much. Do you love him? I do. Does that scare you? Nia thought about this seriously. No. He is nice. He listens when I talk about science. He makes you smile more. I think he should be part of our family. Brianna unbuckled her seatbelt and pulled Nia close, holding her tight. You are the wisest 7-year-old I know. I know, Nia said matter-of-factly, and they both laughed. That night, after tucking Nia into bed, Brianna stood at her window looking out at the city lights. Her life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined. She had found love, stability, hope for the future. But more than that, she had found herself again, remembered that she was more than just a survivor. She was a woman deserving of love. A mother building a beautiful life for her daughter. A person who had the courage to save a stranger and the wisdom to accept help when it was offered. And now, standing on the edge of a new chapter, Brianna was ready for whatever came next. Because she was not facing it alone anymore. She had Harrison, she had Nia, and she had herself. That was more than enough. That was everything. The happiness Brianna had found was not fragile, exactly, but it was new enough that when trouble came, she felt the old familiar fear grip her chest. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and she was working the lunch shift at Meridian when Gerald approached her with an uncomfortable expression. "There is a man asking for you at the host's stand," he said quietly. "He says he is Nia's father." Brianna felt the blood drain from her face. "What?" "I did not let him into the dining room, but he is insistent. He said he needs to speak with you urgently." Brianna's hands shook as she set down the water pitcher she was holding. She had not seen Keith Johnson in 6 years, not since he had packed his bags and walked out on their 1-year-old daughter without a backward glance. No phone calls, no child support, no acknowledgement that he had a child at all. "Tell him to wait. I will be there in 5 minutes." She finished delivering drinks to her current table, forcing her smile to remain in place despite the panic racing through her mind. What did he want? Why now, after all this time? At the host's stand, Keith stood looking uncomfortable in jeans and a wrinkled shirt. He had gained weight since she last saw him, his face fuller, his hairline receding. He looked older than his 32 years. "Brianna," he said when he saw her. "You look good." "What do you want, Keith? Can we talk somewhere private?" "No. You can say whatever you need to say right here, right now. I am working." He glanced around at the elegant lobby, clearly intimidated by the surroundings. "I heard you were dating some rich guy. Harrison Bennett." Her blood ran cold. "How did you hear that?" "It is all over social media. People post pictures of you two together. I saw you and Nia with him at the park." His expression turned ugly. "You did all right for yourself, did you not?" "I worked hard to build a life for my daughter. You have no right to comment on anything I do." "Our daughter," he corrected. "And I have every right. I am her father. You were never her father. Fathers do not abandon their children. You have not seen Nia in 6 years. You have not called, not sent money, not even sent a birthday card. You have no claim to her." Keith's jaw tightened. "I was young and stupid. I made mistakes. But I am ready to be in her life now. I want to see my daughter." "Absolutely not. You cannot keep her from me. I have rights. Rights you abandoned when you walked out on us." Keith stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening tone. "I can make trouble for you, Brianna. I can file for custody. I can take you to court. Or you could make this easy and give me what I really want." There was the real reason he had come. "Money. $50,000 and I will sign away all parental rights. You can have your perfect little life with your billionaire. I will disappear permanently. But if you do not pay, I will fight for custody." And judges love sob stories about fathers who want to reconnect with their kids. Brianna felt sick. "You would use Nia like that? Your own daughter?" "I need money, Brianna. I have debts. This is the easiest way to clear them. Get out. Get out right now before I call security." "You have 1 week to think about it," Keith said, backing toward the door. 1 week or I file paperwork. And trust me, I will tell every judge how you kept me from my daughter, how you moved on with some rich man while I struggled." He left, and Brianna stood frozen in the lobby, her whole body trembling. This could not be happening. Not now, not when things were finally good, when she and Nia and Harrison were building something real. She made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, her mind racing with fear and scenarios. Keith had no real case, she told herself. He had abandoned them. No court would give him custody. But the legal fees alone could bankrupt her, and even if she won, the stress and uncertainty would be unbearable. That evening, after putting Nia to bed and double-checking every lock on the doors, Brianna sat on her couch and let herself cry. She had worked so hard to build a safe, stable life for her daughter. She had overcome so much. And now Keith thought he could just show up and destroy everything because he needed money. Her phone rang, Harrison's name on the screen. "Hello," she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Brianna? Are you all right? You sound upset." "I am fine. Just tired." "You are not fine. I can hear it in your voice. What happened?" And somehow, despite her intention to handle this alone, Brianna found herself telling him everything. About Keith showing up, about the threats and demands, about her fear of losing Nia or being dragged through a brutal legal battle. "That is extortion," Harrison said, his voice cold with anger. "He is trying to blackmail you." "I know. But what if he actually follows through? What if he files for custody? Then we fight it. And we win." "Brianna, you have 6 years of documented evidence that he abandoned Nia. No judge will look at that favorably. But the legal fees, the stress on Nia if she finds out, the uncertainty. I will handle the legal fees. I have the best family attorneys in the state. We will shut this down quickly and permanently. Harrison, I cannot ask you to do that. You are not asking. I am offering. Brianna, you and Nia are part of my life now. When you hurt, I hurt. When you are threatened, I protect. That is what people who love each other do. Brianna felt fresh tears spill over. I am so scared. I know. But you are not alone in this. We will face it together and we will protect Nia. I promise you that. He wants $50,000 to go away permanently. We are not paying him a single cent. That would only encourage him to come back for more. We handle this the right way through legal channels with documentation and evidence. We make it clear that he has no place in Nia's life and no claim to anything. What if the lawyers cannot make him go away? They will. Trust me, Brianna. I have resources and connections that will make this process much easier than Keith expects. By the time we are done, he will regret ever trying this. Brianna took a shaky breath. Okay, I trust you. Good. I will have my attorney contact you tomorrow morning. We will file a restraining order and start building our case. In the meantime, document everything. If he contacts you again, save the messages, record the conversations if possible. We need evidence of his threats. Thank you, Harrison. I do not know what I would do without you. You would handle it like you handle everything. But you do not have to anymore. That is what I am here for. After they hung up, Brianna felt marginally better. Still scared, still angry, but no longer alone. Harrison was right. They would face this together and they would protect Nia from Keith's manipulation. She walked to Nia's room and watched her daughter sleep, so peaceful and innocent, completely unaware of the threat looming over their lives. Brianna made a silent promise that Nia would never know about this, never have to deal with a father who only saw her as a means to extract money. Whatever it took, however long it took, Brianna would keep her daughter safe. And with Harrison beside her, she believed they could face anything. Would you fight for your child no matter the cost? Would you trust someone new to help you through a crisis? Subscribe so you do not miss how Brianna protects her daughter and faces down the man who abandoned them both. Sometimes the people we choose become family and family fights together. The legal meeting took place in a sleek conference room at Harrison's lawyer's office. The walls were lined with law books and a large window overlooked the city. Brianna sat between Harrison and attorney Patricia Rodriguez, a sharp woman in her 50s who had come highly recommended. Walk me through everything again, Patricia said, her pen poised over a legal pad. From the beginning. Brianna recounted her relationship with Keith, their brief marriage, Nia's birth, and his departure. She pulled out the folder she had prepared with every document she had. The divorce decree where Keith had signed away all claims to custody, the proof of 0 child support payments, the absence of any contact or communication for 6 years. This is excellent documentation, Patricia said. The fact that he legally relinquished his parental rights during the divorce makes his current threats baseless. He cannot file for custody when he already signed those rights away. But he said he could fight it, Brianna said, her voice small. He can try. But any judge would laugh him out of court. He has no case, no standing, no legitimate claim. This is pure intimidation, hoping you will pay him rather than face legal proceedings. Harrison reached for Brianna's hand under the table, squeezing gently. What are our next steps? First, a cease and desist letter making it clear that any further contact will be considered harassment. Second, a restraining order if he continues to threaten or approach Brianna or Nia. Third, we prepare a comprehensive file documenting his abandonment and lack of support, just in case he is foolish enough to actually file anything. How long will this take? Brianna asked. The cease and desist can be sent today. If he is smart, that will be the end of it. If not, the restraining order takes about a week to process. But I truly believe once he realizes you have serious legal representation, he will disappear again. The meeting continued for another hour, Patricia methodically going through every detail, preparing for every possible scenario. By the end, Brianna felt more confident. Keith had been counting on her being too scared or too poor to fight back. He had not counted on Harrison and the full force of high-powered legal support. As they left the office, Harrison's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It is my security team. I asked them to keep an eye out for Keith, make sure he does not approach your apartment or Nia's school. He answered, listened, then his expression darkened. Where? Understood. Hold him there. We are on our way. What happened? Brianna asked, her heart racing. Keith tried to approach Nia's school. My security team intercepted him. He is being held in the school office with the principal and police. They drove quickly to the school, Brianna's hands clenched in her lap. How dare he go near Nia's school? How dare he try to get close to her daughter? At the school, they were directed to the principal's office where Keith sat in a chair, flanked by 2 security guards and a police officer. Principal Thompson, a woman Brianna had always appreciated for her kindness and professionalism, stood near her desk looking concerned. "Miss Johnson," she said. "Mr. Johnson here claimed to be Nia's father and said he was here to pick her up for an appointment. Our records show him as having no custody or pickup authorization, so we detained him." "Thank you," Brianna said. "He has no rights to Nia whatsoever." Keith looked smaller somehow, cornered and angry. "I just wanted to see my daughter." "You wanted to scare me," Brianna corrected. "You wanted to show me you could get close to her, that I should pay you." "I do not know what you are talking about." The police officer stepped forward. "Mr. Johnson, attempting to access a child without custody rights or guardian permission is a serious matter. Combined with the report your attorney filed this morning about threats and extortion, you are looking at potential charges." Keith's face went pale. "I did not threaten anyone." "You demanded $50,000 in exchange for not filing false custody claims," Harrison said coldly. "That is textbook extortion. And now you attempted to access a child you have no legal right to see. You have made a series of very poor choices. I am her father." "No," Brianna said firmly. "You are a man who donated DNA. A father shows up. A father loves his child. A father does not use his daughter as a bargaining chip for money. You are not a father. You are nothing to us." Principal Thompson cleared her throat. "I am adding Mr. Johnson to our permanent no-access list. He will not be allowed on school grounds for any reason. If he tries to approach again, we will call the police immediately." The officer nodded. "Mr. Johnson, you are going to come with me. We have some questions about the extortion allegations." As they led Keith away, he shot one last venomous look at Brianna. "You will regret this." "The only thing I regret," Brianna said quietly, "is ever believing you were capable of being a decent person." After Keith was gone, Brianna nearly collapsed, the adrenaline leaving her system in a rush. Harrison caught her, supporting her weight, guiding her to a chair. "It is over," he said softly. "He is done. What if he comes back?" "He will not. The restraining order will be filed today. The police have documented his attempt to access Nia without authorization. Patricia will make sure he understands that any further contact will result in criminal charges. He made a play and it backfired spectacularly. He is not coming back." Principal Thompson brought water and waited until Brianna's breathing steadied. "Is there anything else the school can do to ensure Nia's safety?" "You have already done so much," Brianna said. "Thank you for protecting her. That is our job. But if you need anything at all, please let us know." Harrison drove Brianna home, neither of them speaking much. The relief was overwhelming, but so was the exhaustion. Brianna felt wrung out, emotionally drained, but also strangely empowered. She had faced Keith. She had stood up to him. And with Harrison's support, she had protected her daughter. "I need to tell you something," Harrison said as they sat in his car outside her apartment building. "Watching you today, seeing your strength and your fierce love for Nia, I fell in love with you all over again. You are the strongest person I know." Brianna leaned her head on his shoulder. "I did not feel strong. I felt terrified. Strength is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite the fear. You did that. You protected Nia, you stood up to someone who tried to manipulate you, and you did not back down. I could not have done it without you. But you would have found a way. That is who you are." That evening, when Brianna picked Nia up from after-school care, she held her daughter a little tighter, grateful beyond words that Nia remained innocent and protected. She did not tell her about Keith, about the threats, about how close danger had come. There was time enough for difficult conversations when Nia was older. For now, Brianna just held her daughter close and whispered, "I love you more than anything in this world." "I love you too, Mama. Can Mr. Bennett come over for dinner?" "Maybe tomorrow. Tonight it is just us." They made grilled cheese sandwiches together and watched a movie cuddled on the couch. Simple, ordinary, perfect. This was what mattered. Not Keith's threats or money or fear. Just this, mother and daughter, safe and happy, building a life filled with love. Later that night, after Nia was asleep, Brianna received a text from Patricia. Restraining order approved. Cease and desist sent and acknowledged. Police charged Keith with attempted child abduction and extortion. He is no longer a threat. Case closed. Brianna read the message 3 times, letting the words sink in. Case closed. Was really over. She sent a message to Harrison. Thank you for standing with me. For protecting us. For being exactly what we needed. His response came immediately. Always. That is what love means. We stand together no matter what comes. Sleep well knowing you are safe and cherished. Brianna climbed into bed, her body finally relaxing, the tension of the past week melting away. She had been through worse before and had survived. But this time she had not been alone. This time she had Harrison beside her, and that made all the difference. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new moments to navigate. But tonight, Brianna let herself rest, knowing that whatever came next she could face it. Because she was not alone anymore. Because love had found her. Because sometimes, when you are brave enough to help a stranger, the universe gives you everything you never knew you needed. Spring arrived with an explosion of color, the city gardens blooming with tulips and daffodils. 6 months had passed since Keith's failed attempt at extortion, and he had disappeared from their lives completely, just as Patricia had predicted. The legal fees had been handled, the restraining order was permanent, and Brianna could finally breathe without that constant fear. Her life had transformed in ways she was still adjusting to. The stress of constant financial pressure had eased significantly. She had been able to pay down debts, build actual savings, and start preliminary planning for her bakery dream. But more than the financial stability, she had found something she had not thought possible. A partner who truly saw her, valued her, and wanted to build a life together. Today, Harrison had asked her and Nia to meet him at the Botanical Gardens, a sprawling space on the edge of the city that Nia loved for its butterfly house and science exhibits. They arrived to find him waiting by the entrance, holding a basket and wearing casual clothes. Jeans and a green pullover that made him look younger and more relaxed. A picnic, Nia exclaimed, running to him. Are we having a picnic? We are indeed, Harrison said, catching her in a hug. I thought we could have lunch in the rose garden. How does that sound? Perfect. They walked together through the gardens, Nia running ahead to look at flowers and calling back to share her discoveries. Harrison took Brianna's hand, intertwining their fingers, and she felt the familiar warmth of his presence. You seem nervous, she observed. Do I? A little. Is everything okay? Everything is perfect. Better than perfect. He squeezed her hand. I just have something important I want to discuss with you both. Brianna's heart skipped, but she did not push. They found a spot in the rose garden, a quiet corner surrounded by blooms in every shade of pink and red and yellow. Harrison spread out a blanket and unpacked sandwiches, fruit and cookies from the basket. Nia settled in immediately, chattering about the science fair at school and her project on plant biology. Harrison listened attentively, asking questions and offering encouragement. Brianna watched them together, her heart full. This was what she had always wanted for Nia. A father figure who genuinely cared, who showed up consistently, who treated her daughter with respect and affection. After they finished eating, Nia wandered a short distance away to examine a particularly interesting rosebush. Harrison turned to Brianna, his expression serious but warm. I need to tell you something, he began. Okay. These past months with you and Nia have been the happiest of my life. Not just since Caroline died but ever. You have given me purpose, joy, a reason to wake up excited about the day ahead. You have shown me what truly matters. Love, family, building something real with people you care about. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. You have given us so much too. Stability, security, but more than that, you have given us yourself. Your time, your attention, your genuine care. That is worth more than anything money can buy. I want to make this permanent, Harrison said. I want to build a life with you, officially and completely. I want to be there for every science fair, every scraped knee, every late night worry and early morning joy. I want to be your partner in everything. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Brianna's breath caught. Brianna Johnson, you saved my life in more ways than one. You showed me that second chances exist, that love can find you when you least expect it, that building a family is about choice and commitment, not just biology. You are the strongest, kindest, most remarkable woman I have ever known. He opened the box to reveal a ring, simple and elegant, a single diamond set in platinum. Will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband and Nia's father? Will you build a forever with me? Tears streamed down Brianna's face. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Harrison stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply while holding her close. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying and laughing at the same time. Mama? Nia's voice called from nearby. What is happening? "Come here, baby girl," Brianna said, holding out her hand. Nia ran over, her eyes wide as she saw the ring. "Is Mr. Bennett proposing?" Harrison knelt down to her level. "I am. But I need to ask you something too, Nia. I love your mother very much, but I also love you. If she says yes to marrying me, that means I become part of your family officially. I will be your dad if you will have me. I will show up for you, protect you, support you in everything you do. What do you think? Is that okay with you?" Nia looked between her mother and Harrison, processing this with the seriousness she applied to everything important. "Will you always be there?" "Always. I promise." "Will you help me with science projects?" "Every single one." "Will you love Mama and not leave like the other one did?" Harrison's voice was thick with emotion. "I will love your mama forever. And I will never leave. That is a promise I will keep for the rest of my life." Nia studied him for another moment, then nodded decisively. "Okay. You can be my dad." Harrison pulled her into a tight hug and Brianna joined them, the three of them holding each other in the rose garden while spring bloomed around them. This was it, Brianna thought. This was the family she had dreamed of, the life she had worked so hard to build. Not perfect, but real and loving and full of possibility. Later that evening, after celebrating with dinner at Nia's favorite restaurant and calling Brianna's mother with the news, they returned to Brianna's apartment. Nia was still chattering excitedly about the wedding and whether she could be a junior bridesmaid. "Of course you can," Harrison assured her. "You are the most important person at the wedding besides your mother." After putting Nia to bed, Brianna and Harrison sat together on the couch, her hand resting in his, the ring catching the light. "I want to do this right," Harrison said. "I do not want to rush or pressure you. We can have a long engagement if you want, take time to plan, make sure Nia adjusts smoothly." "I do not need time," Brianna said. "I have never been more certain of anything. You are it for me, Harrison. You are my second chance, my answered prayer, my proof that good things come to people who keep hoping. You are all that and more for me." He kissed her forehead. "I have been thinking about logistics. I do not want you to give up this apartment if you are not ready. We can keep it as a safety net, or we can move slowly, spend more time at my house but keep this as home base until it feels right to fully combine households." "That is very thoughtful. But Harrison, I trust you completely. If Nia and I moved in with you tomorrow, I would feel safe and happy. That is how much you have proven yourself. Still, there is no rush. We do this at your pace, whatever makes you most comfortable." They talked late into the night, planning their future with excitement and joy. A summer wedding, small and intimate, just close friends and family. Combining their households gradually so Nia could adjust. Supporting Brianna's bakery plans with Harrison as a silent partner, there to help but not to take over. Building a life that honored both their pasts while creating something entirely new. As Brianna finally fell asleep that night, her hands still clasped in Harrison's, she thought about how much had changed since that day in the restaurant. She had been tired, stressed, struggling just to survive. She had seen a man in distress and had acted without thinking about consequences. That single moment of kindness had transformed her entire life. It had brought her love, security, partnership, and hope. It had given Nia a father who would show up and stay. It had proven that sometimes, the universe rewards bravery, that helping others comes back to you in unexpected ways. Brianna had always taught Nia that kindness mattered most. Now she had living proof that those words were true. She had built a life based on compassion, hard work, and the courage to help others. And in return she had received everything she had ever dreamed of and more. The wedding took place 3 months later in the same botanical gardens where Harrison had proposed. Brianna wore a simple white dress that made her feel beautiful, and Nia wore purple, her favorite color, as the junior bridesmaid. It was a small ceremony, just a few dozen people, but it was perfect. As Brianna walked down the aisle toward Harrison, she saw her mother crying happy tears, saw Nia beaming with excitement, saw Harrison's face light up with love and joy. This was her family now, chosen and beloved, built on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection. They said their vows in the rose garden, promising to love and support each other, to build a life together, to be partners in every sense of the word. When Harrison kissed her, sealing their marriage, Brianna felt complete in a way she had not known was possible. The reception was joyful and relaxed, filled with laughter and dancing and celebration. Nia gave a speech about how Mr. Bennett, who was now just Dad, had become her favorite person because he always listened and never got tired of her questions. "He makes Mama smile," Nia said seriously, "and that is the most important thing. Because when Mama is happy, everyone is happy." Brianna and Harrison had their first dance to a slow song, holding each other close while their friends and family watched with warm smiles. "I love you," Harrison whispered in her ear. I love you too. Thank you for choosing us, for seeing us, for being exactly what we needed. Thank you for saving my life and then making it worth living. They moved together in perfect rhythm, two people who had found each other against all odds, who had built something beautiful from a moment of crisis, who proved that love could bloom in the most unexpected places. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Brianna stood with Harrison and Nia, her daughter asleep against Harrison's shoulder. They watched the sun set over the gardens, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. This is just the beginning, Harrison said softly. I know. And I cannot wait to see what comes next. Because Brianna Johnson had learned that bravery came in many forms. Sometimes it was telling a powerful man to sit down when he needed help. Sometimes it was accepting help when you desperately needed it. Sometimes it was opening your heart to love even when fear told you to protect yourself. And sometimes, bravery was simply believing that you deserved happiness, that good things could come to good people, that the universe had better plans than you could imagine. Brianna had been brave in all those ways. And in return, she had received a beautiful life, a loving husband, security for her daughter, and the promise of all the tomorrows to come. The restaurant server who had dared to help a stranger had become a wife, a partner, and proof that kindness was never wasted. That when you led with love and hope, when you treated people with compassion regardless of their status or wealth, the world had a way of giving back. As they walked toward their car, Nia stirring sleepily, Harrison took Brianna's hand. Ready to go home, Mrs. Bennett? Brianna smiled, the name still new and wonderful. More than ready. Let's go home. And they did, together as a family, stepping into a future bright with possibility and built on the strongest foundation of all. Love that chose to stay, kindness that transformed lives, and the courage to believe in second chances. The end.